Hey guys, Kier here, and today I'm going to be explaining why I think spoilers, to a certain degree, aren't as bad as some people may make it out to be. Now, obviously, there will be some examples of this, so watch out for vague spoilers of Ippo, Berserk, and One Piece. Also, before the video goes on, I want to say, I'm not saying you should go and spoil someone. It's more like if you do get spoiled, then it's not as bad as it would normally seem, and I'm gonna be explaining why I think that. And yeah, let's get on with the video. So to start, oh, and by the way, there's three spoilers, one for each series I'll be talking about. But yeah, the first type of spoiler, and this could be like the biggest one I want to say is like if the character loses. If you only get spoiled on the fact that they lose and not the who, when, why, or how, and I think that can make every fight more intense or get you more invested in the series because you'll be more curious on, oh, when are they going to lose? Whereas in other series where a character, in the average anime, the main character or any character is almost never going to lose. Or if they do, it's going to be obvious the fact, oh, this is when they're going to lose. It's pretty obvious. But in my case for Ippo, the fact that I got spoiled on who he loses, but not like who he loses to, when, or how he loses, makes every fight I've seen him in so much more intense because I'm like, is this the one where he's gonna lose, or is that the one he's gonna lose? Instead of the is he gonna lose, it's the when, which I think is more intense and hype. Um, the biggest example of this was when I was watching the Volg fight the other day. In that fight, I was so sure that was the one he was gonna lose in, as I did not see a way he could win until the end. And it just, that the fact that that happens for almost every single fight makes all of his fights so much more interesting to watch and intense, because I'm like, oh, he's gonna lose, right? And then he just doesn't lose or something like that. I just find that so much more interesting than if I were to just assume every fight, oh, he's gonna win this one, obviously. Now, it is true, before I go on with the next point, that I guess that would ruin the surprise factor or the shock factor for when he does lose. But I think that's more than made up for in the fact that I'm more invested in every other fight before that, and it seems like he's not gonna lose for a while. So yeah, that's the first and main point I want to talk about. Next one I want to talk about is Berserk, and in this case, it was the Berserker armor. Not only was it a major point of motivation for me to want to continue the series, because there were points where I was just like bored, I just didn't want to read it, but it also helped me, I guess, appreciate the foreshadowing more than I normally would have, as I normally don't care that much about foreshadowing when I'm reading a series unless the foreshadowing is about something I got spoiled on. So, for example, all I knew was that he had the Berserker armor later on in the series, and I didn't know who and or what or why he had it or how even. So it was always interesting to see. I'd always see panels of it, so it got me excited. And whenever I saw, I think it was in the Conviction arc or early Falcon of the Millennium Empire, where there was like, I guess there was like foreshadowing of the Berserker armor with like a fox thing that looked kind of like it. I don't know. I don't really remember what it was. That was like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. That's the foreshadowing to the Berserker armor, which I normally wouldn't care about or notice unless I had gotten spoiled on it. So basically, what I want to say here is it just helped me appreciate the foreshadowing so much more than I normally would have, and just the rest of the story. And it also got me more motivated to watch the series because of that. And lastly, the last example I want to mention is for One Piece, and that's the Gear 2, 3, and 4 foreshadowing. I'm not foreshadowing, spoilers, as the foreshadowing for each of them and the fact that they do happen had me a lot more excited to continue watching One Piece as I was watching it and not reading the manga. So the pacing had me really bored at times, but I used the fact that 2 to 4 happened to, keep me motivated to keep watching. But also I'd always be like theorizing on oh, it's gonna happen here, or this is how it's gonna happen. It had me more thinking about the series more than I normally would have been if I didn't know about them. Granted, as with any other spoiler, it takes away the shock factor, but it also gave me motivation to keep watching One Piece, which is also pretty cool. But if something like that were to happen, you can always like be theorizing, oh, it's gonna happen here, it's gonna happen this way. It helped me be more interested in the series and want to see when it happens and how it happens and all of that. Now, I'm not saying all spoilers are good. I'm just saying in the case that you do get spoiled, there's a more optimistic way to think about it than to just be, oh, I got spoiled, I'm gonna drop the series now. But I'm not saying there's an optimistic way to all of them. Like, for example, any moment that's just like heavily focuses on the shock factor is obviously gonna be gone because you got spoiled. So, not the best example, but an example of this would be for Bleach, Aizen's betrayal. I think it had a lot of the stuff it has going for it is the shock factor, which I think no one experiences nowadays if you've been in the community for more than 5 minutes, as everyone mentions it. But I do think that moment can be not ruined, but not as good for some people if you already know it, since it's like 95% of that moment, I'd say, is shock factor. The rest is other things. But yeah, that's basically all I want to talk about today. I just want to make this video to get my opinion out there on why some spoilers aren't that bad, and that depending on the spoiler, it can actually be good. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about it down below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.